Mattias Sundqvist is my name. I'm from Sweden. I am a project manager for a live project called Ecostreams. And I'm very glad to be invited here to talk about the project. So thank you much, Eva. Now, after my presentation, Elin will also talk about the live project in Sweden. These two projects are pretty similar, so we have divided up a little bit so we don't say exactly the same thing. So I will focus a little about the practical restoration and some of the backgrounds why we have these projects in Sweden. I will start with some facts about the projects. Try to be short. In the northern of Sweden, we are working. We have 3 county administration boards in this project. County Västerbotten, where I'm from, and Jämtland and Västernorrland. And the time for the project is between 2021 and 2026. And I'll talk more about what we are doing later on. And this, 17 million euro is the budget. The main part from Life Fund and also from the National Agency for Marine and Water Management. And then some forest companies and of course our 3 county administration boards. And this is a little about what we are doing. These are our actions, as we call. Now we'll talk a little about restoration and that spawning areas is in the restoration, and exactly the dead wood is also some restoration. And then I will talk about connectivity, road culverts and dam removals. I don't want to mention much about restoration of wetland and the pearl mussel or management plan for fisheries. I will give you a little background why we are doing this in northern Sweden. We have timber floating. Was very common in the 19th and 20th centuries in Sweden. That's, as you can see here, it's common routes. You see the red lines here, these rivers where they have flotation to timber. And here you see a blue line, that is the area we work in the county of Västerbotten. And totally this is 8,000 kilometers of this flotation routes. So it's pretty much. And actually they put the logs in the water so they can float with the river. And then at the coastlines there have the sawmills that took care of the timber. And when you put logs here in the water, you must take out all obstacles like stones or such things. Otherwise, the timber will stuck up on there and stop. So then they started to remove all the stones. In the first, they used handcrafts. And small machines, and they build in the smaller streams, they build constructions just for channelizing the water. so the timber won't stack. And then in the 1950s, the machine come, the tractors. And then they started in a bigger scale to move out the rocks from the streams. And here we have they usually put all the grains, gravel to one side just to channelize it. And you can imagine a fresh pearl water mussel, not so nice to be in the water. Yeah. And nowadays it can look like this. A lot of construction, a difference. They look very different, but it all depends is how to put out stones from the river. And when you flotation timber, you must have much water. So they started to build dams to collect water. Then under a short period, they flush out the water and the timber at the same time. So here we have the county of Västerbotten. You see they have really a lot of these dams. This is not power plant dams. It's just old dams like this one. They pretty much look like this today. No one would use them today. They just stands there. Been an obstacle. And then we had road culverts. When they stopped the timber floating, they stopped because you have tractors and so on. You can transport the timber on roads. And then you start building a lot of roads to take the timber out. And when you build a road over a stream, you must put a culvert there. And in northern Sweden, we have a pretty much slope on the stream. So what happens, I'll show you later, but just to have the scale, in Västerbotten, we have about 30,000 of these culverts. And 1/3 of them are obstacles. So about 10,000 obstacles we have. They're pretty much. And they look like often like this. Often it's just one culvert, but this time it's two. But what happens when you have a slope in this culvert, you start dig out here. You have erosion here, and after a few years you have a fall here. It's creating an obstacle. So I'll tell you a little later how we do about them today. All this impact I showed you now, we can see in the water frame directive, the ecological status. You see, it's mostly moderate status. So we have really a lot to do to come up to this good status. So what do we do in the project? In the Ecostream, we have 22 dams we should remove. They often look like this. What we do is usually take them out away. And in this case, we have built a bridge too. It's pretty common that locals use these dams for when they are out hunting or snowmobiles and they drive over and so on. And when there is, we put a bridge there, wooden bridge. Then we have the road culvert in the project is 199. These and it's a different way from time to time what we do, what suits in the specific street. So, but sometimes we make a bridge, and sometimes we put a new culvert, but a half moon culvert. It's just that, and then you have natural sediments in under. So that two variants we use. It looks like some like this. We usually do it in the winter. It's easiest to do these objects in the winter. But the main part we do is restoration in the rivers with excavators. And here it's an example. In this picture you see you have 0.1 kilometers out of 140 kilometers we should restore in the project. And it's roughly two kinds of restoration we do, two kinds of rivers. The most common is rivers with boulders and rocks, like this one. And then we used to increase the wet area. We put back rocks and boulders in the stream, and also dead wood and so on. And after that, it can look like this. So if I go back, you see it's the same stream section from above. So you see we have put a lot of boulders back and a lot of wood, and it's much wider. We almost double the surface. And here is one more example of this common restoration. You don't see so much, but there are a lot of boulders and rocks put up here in the. So when restoration, we see this will be like that. And you can look at that stone. You have the same stone there. The reference. But then we have alluvial stretches, like more dynamic watershed. The one before with boulders, not much happened in them. When you have restored them, they stays like that in thousands of years. So, but we also have these alluvial. As you see, more dynamic, finer gravel. So much more happened during the years. Yeah. So here is actually the same example you saw before. When the flotation, the timber, they put all the gravels up in this area, and so it's straight in the river. And after our restoration, it looked like this. So a pretty big scale on this. And we use a lot of dead wood when we do these stretches. I think I can, if you look at this picture, you see the excavators, so you see the scale of it. Yeah, pretty much what I have to say, what we do, a practical restoration. And I will say thank you, and please visit our website. We have a website if you want to read more about what we do. So ecostreamsforlife.com, and we have Instagram too. And I will mention my colleague Johanna Hägglund, who also is project manager. We share the project management, so she couldn't be here now, so but she fixed the presentation. So thank you very much.